A very good morning, 7th class. Tomorrow is your social exam. You know, na? And today is your revision class. So, today let us revise the lesson New Kings and Kingdoms. Students, if you remember, we have completed the discussion or the revision of the civics chapters. We are left only with history, and today I am going to revise the history textbook. Okay, ma? Now, see, whatever points I tell you, you please underline those because today I am going to discuss all the important points. Okay? Now, see, here in this lesson, we are going to learn about different types of dynasties which have emerged between the 7th and the 12th centuries. Okay? Now, see here. Here you have got a map which clearly shows what were the kingdoms ruling India in those years. Okay? Here you have the Chahmanas, here the Rashtrakutas, and here in the south you have the Cholas. Ma'am, you know one thing? Cholas are the longest ruling dynasties in the world. Okay? Do you know? Do any one of you know that? They have ruled this southern part for many years like no other kingdom in the world. Okay? So such great are the Cholas and their administration. We'll be learning about their administration also today. Okay? Now coming to this part, the emergence of new dynasties. Now see here. See here. By the 7th century, big landlords or warrior chiefs in different regions of the subcontinent were present, and they were called as the Samantas. They were called by the kings as Samantas. Underline this. Big landlords were called as Samantas by the king. Now, as these Samantas gained power and wealth, they were called Mahasamantas or Mahamandaleshwaras. What is meant by Mahamandaleshwara? The great lord of a circle or region. Underline this one also. Okay. Now, here you will be learning about one king who was a subordinate and later he became a king. Now see. There we will be learning about the Rashtrakutas in Deccan. Now what did they do? Initially these Rashtrakutas, they were the subordinates to Chalukyas. Underline. Rashtrakutas were earlier subordinates to Chalukyas. You may get small simple questions also. There are every chance to get simple questions from such things, ma. So you have to underline. Okay. Now see. In the mid 18th century, Dantidurga, a Rashtrakuta chief, overthrew his Chalukya overlord, means he defeated his Chalukya king and he himself declared as the king. Who is this Dantidurga? And he was a Rashtrakuta chief and he performed a ritual called the Hiranyagarbha ritual. Do you remember? I have told you about Hiranyagarbha ritual. One complete class I have told you what actually happens in Hiranyagarbha ritual. Yes. So yeah, this is more important. Hiranyagarbha ritual is very important in history as well, students. Okay. So what happens in Hiranyagarbha ritual? When a person performs it, then he is made, he goes and sits in a golden vessel, a very big golden vessel which is considered as a womb, golden womb. And after he comes out of that, he gets converted into Kshatriya. So this is the importance of Hiranyagarbha ritual. Okay, ma. Now see. So this is about the Hiranyagarbha ritual. Here see, you have some other people also like Kadamba, Mayurashramam and the Gurjara Pratihara, Harichandra were Brahmanas. They also gave up the traditional professions and took arms successfully, establishing kingdoms in Karnataka and Rajasthan especially. Ma, for each and every topic we are discussing here, like for example the emergence of new dynasties, I have written few questions. Everything is very short or one word answer only. Okay, you try to find out answers to those questions. That also I'll be forwarding along with this video. Okay, Now coming to the administration, here see, these kings, they took high sounding titles like Maharaja, Adhiraja, Tribhuvana Chakravartin. Okay, so they themselves gave big titles. And from where did these kings get the resources, or the states get resources? Resources means money ma here. Okay, the king needs money na for the maintenance of all the kingly family, for the administrative purposes, everything. So these resources were obtained from the producers, that is peasants, cattle keepers, artisans. So resources were mostly in the form of taxes. Yes, we are giving tax to the government even now. You ask your parents if you want. Taxes are taken from the people. So in those way, the kings used to take taxes from these three people. Underline who provided the resources. If it is a question, peasants, cattle keepers, and artisans provided. And sometimes they were claimed as rent due to lord who asserted that he owned the land. Revenue was also collected from traders. Okay, now here you have one form of tax called vetti. What is this? It is tax, a type of tax. But in what form is this tax collected? In the form of forced labor. So vetti is given. If vetti, what is vetti? Then you have to write it is a tax which is collected in the form of forced labor. Okay ma? Depending upon the option given, you have to answer the question. If it is a multiple choice question, what is vetti? Then if only tax is given, then you have to mark only tax. If it is given forced labor, you have to mark forced labor. Understood na? So here see. There were also taxes on thatching the house, the use of ladder to climb palm trees, and cess on the succession of family property. So taxes were collected on these aspects also. Now see, what did the king do with the resources? So they used these resources or taxes for the construction of temples, fight wars, etc. Okay, and who used to collect these tax? Influential families. Usually the friends or the family people of the king were given the positions, high positions in the administration for the collection of taxes. Now let us learn what is prashasti and land grant. Now what is prashasti? See here clearly given. It contains details. Okay, if question is given what is prashasti, you write prashasti tells us how rulers want to depict themselves as valiant, victorious warriors. Okay, till here you have to write. Underline this one. Prashastis tell us how rulers want to depict themselves as valiant, victorious warriors. Okay, ma? Now, who used to write these prashastis? Usually the Brahmanas. You have an example of one prashasti here in Gwalior, which was written in Sanskrit, and it describes the king Nagabhatta, a Pratihara king. Yeah, this entire lines you underline. Okay, now see. Here you have the picture of copper plates. Ma, picture identification can also be given. So you try to see this picture and try to read this column. You read this column. Okay, this part you read. What is this? What is the significance of this particular picture here? So these are copper plates where recordings with respect to grant of lands are there. Now here see. Now see here in warfare for wealth. Now see here. Here you need to talk about the tripartite struggle. The tripartite struggle went on between which kingdoms? They are the Gurjara Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas and the Palas. And they fought for which place? They continuously fought for the place called Kannauj. Kannauj was a very good business center in those days. Okay. Now here see, the rulers, they demonstrated their powers by building large temples. Okay, so when a war happened, usually the temples were targeted. So here you may get a question, why were temples targeted? Okay, then what will you write? You have to write rulers try to demonstrate power and resources by building large temples. That is the reason why the temples were targeted, and especially these temples were extremely rich also, ma. Okay, here you have the example of Sultan Muhammad of Ghazni, who invaded Somnath temple. Okay, that is more important. Who invaded Somnath temple? Sultan Muhammad of Ghazni, Afghanistan. Underline that one. Okay, and after invasion he plundered the wealth of the temple, and that was sufficient for him to build a capital in Ghazni. Okay, going back. Now here again, this Sultan Muhammad, he assigns one person, one scholar, Al-Biruni, to write about the subcontinent. This Sultan Muhammad, he was very much astonished at the wealth in the temples and all, about the customs and traditions in the subcontinent. So he assigns Al-Biruni to write about the subcontinent, and this Al-Biruni, he writes a book, Kitab-ul-Hind. The book's name is very important. Who wrote Kitab-ul-Hind, or what is the work of Al-Biruni? Okay, so Al-Biruni wrote Kitab-ul-Hind. Underline this one. Now here again you have about the Chahmanas or the Chauhans. In this, who is the popular Chahmana? Prithviraj III. Okay, and this Prithviraj III, he defeats Sultan Muhammad Ghori. Now who is the popular Chahmana here is Prithviraj III. That is more important for us. Okay, now coming to the Cholas, the great. Okay, now see here. You have, here see, a closer look, the Cholas. Now here see, you have the map wherein you can clearly find the Chola kingdom. Okay, this entire red thing was occupied by the Cholas, means major part of South India, right? Now see, let us see here. Here see, how did the Cholas rise to power? In that, we need to first talk about Vijayalaya. Okay, now Vijayalaya, who belonged to the ancient chiefly family of the Cholas, captured the delta from another king, Muttariyar. Okay, so Vijayalaya is considered to be the king who has expanded the Chola kingdom initially, in the initial days. Okay, now he built a town called Tanjavur. That's very important, students. Who built Tanjavur? Vijayalaya. And he built a temple also for the goddesses Nishumba Sudini. Okay, this is also very important. Now see here. After Vijayalaya, we need to speak about two more kings. One is the Rajaraja I and the Rajendra I. Rajaraja I and his son Rajendra I. Now, during the time of Rajendra I, the Chola kingdom, it expanded to overseas also, to Southeast Asia, Sri Lanka. So this Chola king, Rajendra I, he captured, or he went on expedition, and he was able to capture Sri Lanka and countries of Southeast Asia also. So he was very great actually. He has went out of country also. His rule was there even in other countries. Okay, now here see. Here the splendid temples and bronze sculptures. So here you have these temples which were built by the Cholas. Now these temples were not just temples, but they were the centers of settlements. Who settled around the temples? The priest families, garland makers, cooks, sweepers, musicians, dancers. In this way, many professions came up around the temples. And the bronze statues, here you can see the bronze statue. Here see, these bronze statues are very famous during the Chola period. They are considered to be the finest in the world. Okay, and with respect to agriculture and irrigation, in the Chola kingdom, they had the river Kaveri, which formed the delta. So obviously when there is a river, the entire region will be very fertile. They also have built up many good irrigation facilities. Now see here, you have this picture over here. What does this signify? See here, the 9th century sluice gate in Tamil Nadu. It regulated the outflow of water from tank into the channels that irrigated the field. This is important, ma. You underline this one. Okay. Now what are the various irrigation methods used? They dig wells, and huge tanks were constructed to collect rainwater. Irrigation works require planning, organizing, labor and resources. So this was entirely very nicely done by the Chola kings. Now here administration you are having.